And thank you very much, Yvonne Mfulo, for being the director of this program. And indeed, Minister of Mineral Resources, Minister Gwede Mantashe, and your deputy, as well as the Premier of our province, Mr. Stanley Matabata, and the MECs that have accompanied you to this function, and the mayors, the councillors also who are here together with us, and indeed Nkosi Langa, the traditional leader of the area where we are, who, as the Premier said, is the owner, the true and traditional owners of this land, and Ms. Nolita Fakuta, the CEO of Anglo American South Africa, but also working with the CEO of Anglo American PLC, Mr. Duncan Wenblad, and Natasha Viljoen, also the other executive and vice presidents or directors of Anglo American who are here as well, and Mr. Sebastian Arbola of NG, and all of you distinguished guests. It's a real joy and a pleasure to be here in this place. The launch of the new Gen truck is truly remarkable, and it is a huge milestone on our journey as a country towards creating an industry, but also an economy that is more sustainable, more innovative, and resourceful. It is a smart step for Anglo American, but it is a giant leap for South Africa's hydrogen economy as we move into the future. Now, mining has been and continues to be a vital pillar of our economy, creating value and fueling productive activity far beyond mining areas. And I've often asked myself over many years, what is the real engine? Is it manufacturing or is it mining? And more I come down to saying, as I think Duncan Wenblad was saying, as well as Natasha, if it's not grown, it is mined. And nearly everything that we see around us, that we use on an everyday basis, whether it's in our households or wherever, comes from the earth, and it is mined. So mining plays an important role, possibly the first important role, and then manufacturing follows, because manufacturing then finally fashions what we use into usable commodities or products. In ways both beneficial and harmful, mining has shaped our country over more than 150 years. It has driven our industrialization and secured our position in the global economy, much as the Fraser Institute, as Minister Mantashe was saying now puts us at the bottom in terms of investor attractiveness or investment attractiveness. Mining has always been, in my view, a sunrise industry, and it has always recreated itself. And even in South Africa, we will continue to recreate ourselves. Throughout its history, the mining industry has been at the forefront of technological advancement in response to whatever evolving nature of its operations. Yet even as the technology changed, even as machines have gotten bigger and also better, one thing has remained the same. Mine load haulage has been powered by fossil fuels. Until now, until the launch today of the world's largest mine haul truck powered by green hydrogen that will be produced, yes, at the mine site, but which also shows us that the hydrogen economy is beckoning us as a country, as an industry. And with this truck that we see here, it basically means that the hydrogen economy has definitely arrived for South Africa, and today we celebrate its arrival. And thank you very much to Anglo American. Now, substantial investment in research and development has enabled mining houses like Anglo American to ride the crest of successive industrial revolutions, from fossil fuels and steam power in the first, to electrification and power generation in the second, to digitization, to automation and connectivity in the third. And now, with robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the likes of the new-gen truck Anglo American is powering ahead into the fourth industrial revolution. But today's launch is not only about investment in research and development. It is also about a clear vision. It is also about a clear strategy that you have fashioned as Anglo American. It is also about commitment and leadership. Now, as you explode on these new technologies, being Anglo American with your ancestral home here in South Africa, you are essentially doing it on the back of the technological advancement that you gained being here in South Africa. You are doing it also on behalf of South Africa. And that is why we are very proud to be here, to be part of this launch as the government of the Republic of South Africa. So thank you very much for being our great partner in all this. Now, I'm told that once plans to convert or replace the entire diesel-powered haul truck fleet with new-gen technology comes to fruition, Anglo could, and as you said, you will move up to 80% of diesel emissions at open pit mines. As a signatory to the Paris Agreement to combat climate change, South Africa is committed to take the necessary actions to transition our economy along a low-carbon, climate-resilient, inclusive path. And it is, as Minister Mantashe was saying, it is a path, and I'm rather glad that you as Anglo-American executives also confirm this. It is a path that requires justice. It is a path that requires that we leave no one behind, no employees behind, no community members behind, and I'm really glad that the leadership of the National Union of Mine Workers is also here. They impressed me immensely when I went to their conference. They have a fairly sizable document on climate change. As a union, they have embraced the need for climate change, but they are also focusing on a just transition. So the just transition must be underpinned by justice. It must be underpinned by the involvement of working people in the area and indeed in our country. It must also be underpinned by community involvement. The communities must feel very much part of this. Now we have Nkosi Langa here, who represents the community in this area, and they too will want to know that the just transition that we're talking about when it comes to climate change also involves them, also means that we are not going to leave the communities behind. We have an obligation not only to honor international agreements, we also have an obligation to the people of our own country and to the generations that will follow to ensure that they can live healthy, productive, and sustainable and meaningful lives. And this is what the just transition must aim to achieve and address. We have an obligation both as government and as companies to reduce emissions and work towards achieving carbon neutrality. Now, Anglo American's Future Smart Mining Program is about meeting that obligation. And I'm glad that today you are demonstrating to all and sundry that you are determined to do that. But we also thank you for being at the cutting edge. This is the first in the world, really. So today, seated as we are here, gathered as we are making world history right here in Mogalakwena, right here in Limpopo Premier, right here in South Africa. I must add that others have tried and they've been moving along very slowly, and Anglo American typically, in terms of its capability, it has stolen the march. Not stolen, it has demonstrated that it can march far ahead of everyone else and get things done, as Minister Mantashe was saying. So we thank you and we honor you for that, because you do it to actually position South Africa where it belongs, as a country where there's innovation, a country where there's creativity, and a country where there's human capital that is capable of creating wonderful vehicles like this that are fueled by the hydrogen fuels. It is about marrying technology, digitization, and sustainability to transform the future of mining. NewGen brings Anglo American closer to achieving its goals of carbon neutrality across all its operations by 2040, a 30% improvement in energy efficiency, and an absolute 30% reduction in operational greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. The specs of this NewGen truck are very impressive, particularly for those of us who like to delve into technical detail. And I was truly enthralled when Mr. Souls was explaining precisely how it all works and how it is all generated. That is the type of stuff I'm interested in. If I was not doing this job, I promise you I would be here doing exactly what you're doing. I think you're having a great deal of fun, and I never want to miss out on fun. So when I get fired from my job, don't be surprised when I come to apply for a job here. So I might come here. We have heard that it has a 2-megawatt hydrogen battery hybrid that generates more power than its diesel predecessor. It has capabilities to carry, as we heard, 290-ton payload. That is a massive payload, making it the first time a truck of this size and load capacity has been converted to run on hydrogen. I was hugely impressed just how you took out the diesel engine and its various components out of this truck and replaced all that with the fuel cells, with the hydrogen mechanisms, just to get this truck to be powered in the way it is powered now. It has power management and battery systems that will be tailored for each mine to improve efficiency or energy recovery. Yet what is most impressive is that this truck and those to come will be powered by an end-to-end integrated green hydrogen production, fueling and haulage system with plans to build a complex here at Mogalakwena. What we are launching here today is not merely an impressive piece of machinery, it is the genesis of an entire ecosystem powered by hydrogen. And that is why I say this is also the genesis of our hydrogen economy. We've been talking about this, and even at the investment conference, Anglo American, as they made their commitments, they did give an inkling that this is where we are going. And yes, Minister Mantashe, they have delivered on what they committed to do at the investment conference. So thank you very much, Anglo American, for having done that. Now, developing the hydrogen economy is a strategic priority for our country. And that is why I say once again that this is a smart step for Anglo American, but it's a gigantic leap for South Africa's hydrogen future economy. This is what gives us a window to the future, that what we've been talking about developing a hydrogen economy, which many countries around the world are seeking to get into. We here in South Africa, with today's launch, have already proven that we are taking a gigantic leap into the future of this economy of hydrogen. Not only will it be a valuable driver of economic growth, as well as employment, it will also contribute to our decarbonization efforts. The NewGen project provides demonstrable proof of the potential of this sector. And it is a huge potential. It takes us from concept to reality. So we're moving from conceptualization to the realism of what that future beckons or means. That is why it is imperative that the work being undertaken by the Department of Science and Innovation and the South African National Development Institute, in partnership with Anglo, Bambili Energy and the NG, into the feasibility of a hydrogen valley needs to proceed apace. The proposed hydrogen valley, stretching from here in Limpopo right through to Gauteng to KwaZulu-Natal, will position South Africa as listen to this, as a global center for green hydrogen production. And in this, we are serious. We are serious. We don't seek to undermine other nations and in terms of what they are doing. Our objective is to be the real center, the real hub of the green hydrogen production. And that is the destination that we are moving to. It will lead to the creation of new industries. And I'd like us to imagine that just as mining, just finding mineral deposits in various parts of the country, starting with diamonds in the Northern Cape and with gold in the Witwatersrand Basin, just as it did start spawning a number of industries, this is also another gold. It's also another minefield of diamonds that is going to spawn other industries. It is also, as it spawns other industries, going to lead to more employment. It is going to lead to the improvement of the livelihoods of our people. And this is the beginning of the future that we envisage in the new development plan. But it is also going to aid decarbonization of a number of other sectors. Decarbonization of sectors such as transportation. We can already see what hydrogen-powered vehicles look like. Imagine that now being replicated in transportation, in public transportation, as we power our buses that will be carrying our workers to work. It is also going to improve the manufacturing processes as well as construction. So the multiplier effect of what we are launching here today is quite plentiful. And it is, like mining did, as I said, going to impact on a whole number of other sectors. We haven't even begun to see what it will do with agro-processing, with food production, with a whole number of other processes. And this will have started here in South Africa, and this, we want it to be the center of the green hydrogen economy. And that is worth celebrating, and that is partly what we are celebrating here today. As a country, we are determined that we derive the full social and economic value of our mineral and other natural resources. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy has a clear beneficiation strategy to translate our comparative advantage in terms of minerals endowment into a national competitive advantage. Whilst on the one part, Anglo American would say, we are miners, but there is another future that we want even an Anglo American to envisage, even other companies to envisage, which is, yes, the beneficiation of our minerals. This strategy is aligned to our country's industrialization, to our green economy, economic diversification, and job creation objectives. Developing the hydrogen economy is a critical component of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, which we launched in 2020 to rebuild our economy in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Minister Mantashe is absolutely right. The economy of our country from a GDP point of view just resides in two critical provinces. And the restructuring that we envisage is that we should begin to spread out the growth nodes of our economy throughout the country and beginning to move towards the hydrogen economy, and starting it here and spreading it around is part of that whole process. The National Hydrogen Society Roadmap that was approved by Cabinet late last year will give added impetus to the task of building a sustainable and resilient economy. The beneficiation of platinum group metals to produce clean energy will support our just energy transition by reducing emissions and our dependence on fuel cells. And already we can see the benefit of the endowment that we have as a nation, the platinum group metals, that the catalytic converters that have actually helped to reduce emissions is part of that journey, and the fuel cells is another part of that journey, and now we move into hydrogen. And this is what we need to play up as a nation and as companies that operate in our country. It is testament to the visionary nature, yes, of the leadership of Anglo American, that a mining house for which fossil fuels have been an integral part of their business is now leading the way in the use of clean energy and its operations. I want to encourage you to forge ahead with your plans to ensure that beneficiation embraces all the communities in which your operations are located. For a country like South Africa, with such abundant mineral resources, there is no excuse for anyone or any community to feel that they are left behind. And in fact, we should work to ensure that our communities are not left behind. The green hydrogen value chain that Anglo is playing such an integral part in developing must lead to the creation of new businesses and new supply chains. I was particularly pleased as I listened very carefully to what corporate executives have to say when the CEO of Anglo American was pointing to this truck and saying, yes, we now have the ability to ensure that some parts of this truck, including the bucket, are actually refashioned, manufactured here in the community. And that, to me, is very pleasing. So, because in the end, this must result in more opportunities and employment for people of South Africa, starting right here in Limpopo. And it is pleasing, and I'm glad that your trade union is here as well. And I'm glad that the provincial government is here as well, which tells me at the national level of government that there is a very positive relationship and partnership that exists between Anglo American, the provincial government, and indeed the local government here, as well as your trade unions. There continues to be a number of companies in our country that relate to trade unions from a hostility point of view, where some of them will not even want to sit down to negotiate in a positive way with their unions. Now, that should belong to the past. We have been through that. I, together with Minister Mantashe, were leaders in the trade union that tried to fashion a better relationship between companies and unions, where we sought and succeeded in many ways to improve the labor relations between workers and their employers. Now, to the extent that that continues, it's concerning, because hostility between employers and unions should really belong to the dustbin of history. What we are seeing here today, the presence of a corporate and its unions and communities, is what the future should be all about. It is what we should be doing as a nation. We should not continue being trapped by what we went through in the past, where there is just total hostility amongst the stakeholders. We want the stakeholders to build compacts, to build really smart relationships, whether it is on climate change issues, whether it's on wage negotiations, whatever it is. Stakeholders must continue to be engaged and work together so that they find consensus and build smart relationships, rather than to be in conflict all the time. So this is what I'm seeing here, and I congratulate you for that. So once again, congratulations to Anglo American and its various partners that you've worked with on this very fantastic milestone. It demonstrates the value of innovation, vision, partnership, and commitment, and above all, as we work to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Agenda of people, planet, and prosperity. Now, you've developed this vehicle, and I think the other frontier must then be to make this vehicle drive itself. I saw a driver in that vehicle. I'd prefer that driver to be sitting in some office driving this vehicle. That is the frontier that you Anglo American must move to, because it is possible. You have demonstrated that you are innovative and that you can touch the real outstanding contours of creativity. Now, this vehicle, I would prefer to drive it sitting in my office at the Union Buildings. Can you make that possible? Thank you very much.